Hey there, everyone. We've got a special day in YouTube land today as this new Double D's Card Talk video is on its way to you. Now, I know those days haven't come around nearly enough lately, but both DA and I, we were inspired to talk about this subject, and that is evolution as a collector and our collections and the things that bring about that evolution, and just kind of discussing the way ourselves personally we've evolved as collectors and how our collections have evolved. You know, a lot of times there's so many things that can play into causing your collection to evolve, and sometimes it's like decision making that you do as a collector. Sometimes we gain interest in some things, we kind of lose interest in other things, and our priorities shift a little bit. There's all sorts of things that kind of go into this, and a lot of times as it's happening, we don't really consciously notice it until we're quite a ways down that path, and we just stop, reflect, and look back at where we've come. And so we wanted to take a moment, both of us in this video, and be a little bit reflective about the journeys our collections have taken in the past few years, and also invite some of you to share some of your own evolution stories with us as well. Anyway, I'm going to kick it off to my good friend DA here, and he's going to lead it off talking about his own collection journey.
Thanks, B-Side. Hey, everybody. As he said, we're going to be talking about the evolution of our collections. Now, I have many different facets of my collection, and each one of those facets has changed drastically over the years, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. First of all, go back in the archive of my channel to the very first video we ever made, and it'll be Blake's top 10 favorite baseball cards. Now, at the time that he made that, he'd only been collecting for maybe 3 or 4 months, and a lot has changed since then. And as you can tell, if you watch my channel over the years, the amount of Blake's involvement has really tapered down over the few years. You know, that's because he's not as interested in collecting cards as he once was. He's at that age. He's almost 13. He's got all kinds of other things going on. He's got all kinds of other interests. You know, he's in bowling. Right now he's at bowling practice. He's in bowling. He's big into skiing right now. You know, he just joined the trap shooting team. He plays video games. And mostly his friends, none of his friends really collect at school. So, I mean, that's a big deal for a kid. You know, if none of your friends are doing it, chances are you're not going to keep interest in it. Now, he still likes to go to card shows with me. He still likes to open up packs. He's just not quite as into it as he was when we first started. And when we first started, it was all about him. It was a way for us two to bond together, and it was all his collection. I didn't really have a collection other than a few things that I had saved from back when I collected in the 90s. So, and now here it's grown where I'm the primary collector and he's the side collector. So it's crazy. I mean, our collections have grown through YouTube immensely from people sending care packages and stuff, and that's awesome. And I love getting mail. I love sending stuff to people, and that's really a great part of this community. We've dabbled in all kinds of things over the years: opening packs, modern cards, vintage cards, TTMing, set building, player collecting, football and baseball, you name it, we've done it. And we're still doing some of that stuff to some degrees and some of it more degrees. But when you first start out, you want to have what they call a well-rounded collection. You don't really know who you are as a collector yet. You don't know how you're going to end up. I use my brother as an example. He's a big bobblehead collector, and he's trying to get into cards a little bit. He's dabbling in cards, and he'll send me pictures of cards once a week. Would you buy this? Is this a good deal? And I always tell him, no, I wouldn't buy that because I don't collect that, you know. And it's all different kinds of things, different teams, different players, different sports. And it's like, you got to try to figure out who you are as a collector. But I know what it's like, because when you first start out, you come across these cards that are great deals. You want to have, like I said, a well-rounded collection. You want to have a Hank Aaron. You want to have a Willie Mays. You want to have, some cool vintage cards and some cool modern cards. You want to have the hot player right now. But, over time, you might find that there's other things that are more important to you than having the hot player. Or having a particular player that really you have no connection with at all. And so that's where my collecting has sort of molded. And I'm a huge hometown guy. I love my hometown teams, the Twins and the Vikings. And that's where I feel a connection with my collection for the most part, is with my team stuff. Now, the way I collect, team collecting, is way different from how it used to be. Over the last few years, I've gotten away from breaks. I'll still get into breaks if the checklist is really good, or if there's some Kirby Puckett stuff on that set, then I'll get into them. But for the most part, the amount of breaks I've gotten into has drastically went down. And the way I team collect, there's a point where you realize you don't need, I don't need to get every Brian Dozier card, and I don't need to get every Delvin Cook card, and every, I don't need 50 freaking Harrison Smith rookies or whatever it is. I finally realized that at some point, and that I have a bulk collection of stuff that I don't really even care about that much, So with my Vikings guys, if you were a good player, I want to have one good rookie and one good autograph, and really all the rest I don't really need. So I've narrowed my focus on team collecting to an autograph and a rookie of each player, a good, nice one, And then there's certain players that I do collect a lot, of course, like Kirby Puckett. And I have a handful of other guys, Harmon Killebrew, Rod Carew, Adam Thielen, Chris Carter. These are the guys that I'm really big into player collecting. I just love the way I just really dig making a spreadsheet and filling it in with your collection. And I've really been inspired over the years from guys like Topps 85 401, Triple Crown 24. I collect Ichiro, the Colazo Effect. These guys have really sort of inspired me to become the Kirby Puckett super collector. And I had my goal at getting 1,000 Kirby Puckets, and once I hit that goal, it's really slowed down since then, because I'm normally only picking up, bigger cards and some of the new releases here and there, but mainly it's some bigger cards. So that's the way my team and player collecting has sort of changed. Autographs, I'm really big into autographs, and I have my other collection, my Twins autograph collection, where I'm trying to get an autograph of every single player that ever put on a Twins uniform. I don't know what caused that. I think I was just looking at all the autographs I had, and I was becoming interested in picking up autographs of players that were deceased. And at one point I'm picking up all these autographs and I'm thinking, why not just get one of every player? So that's been a huge new goal for me. And also my Hall of Fame autographs. I think that's my way of keeping the well-roundedness of my collection, to keep some non-hometown guys in my collection by having that Hall of Fame autograph collection. And a huge part has been selling stuff. So I've finally, it's hard to let go of stuff. You have this cool stuff. Over the years I've sold PSA 10 Nolan Arenado rookie, a PSA 10 Topps Chrome Juan Soto, for probably way less than I could get for it now. But, I looked at those cards and they were hard to sell. I mean, because they're such good cards. They're such cool cards. But I knew that there was something out there that had equal or lesser value that would mean more to me. And that's what you got to do if you want to evolve as a collector, is find out what means more to you. And it's something different for everybody. But for me, was picking up Kirby Puckett cards that were, maybe a little bit out of my price range, a little bit more than I wanted to pay. Well, I had a card worth more than that I could sell, and I could get, a Kirby autograph or a rookie or a rare 90s insert or whatever it was. And same thing with my Hall of Fame autographs. I had some slabbed Willie Mays, Hank Aaron cards and stuff, and it was like, I would rather have an autograph of these players than this card. An autograph Willie Mays would mean more to me than this slab 1958 All-Star card or whatever it was. And so, I've been able to sell stuff, and then I've been able to pick up stuff like this King Griffey Jr. autograph, I'm not a huge King Griffey Jr. Collector, but I know that his autograph means a lot more to me than a PSA 10, 89 Upper Deck or whatever. Or I've been able to pick up something like this. First day cover, autographed by Kirby Puckett. All from selling stuff, and this is stuff that's going to stay in my collection, This is stuff that I cherish. This is of a player that I care about, that I have a personal link to, way more than I do with, Ernie Banks. What I wasn't even born when he was playing. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't collect vintage players, that you definitely should collect vintage players, but I'm saying to try to find something that touches you more than what you already have. If anybody reflects and looks through their collection, they're going to find a lot of shit that they're like, I don't have any use for this. I never look at this. It's just part of my collection. Maybe it is an investment thing. Maybe you plan on selling it years down the road. Maybe you plan on your kids selling it or whatever. But if you're a collector, you got to know that there's something out there that means more to you than some of these cards that you have in your collection. And that's how your collection can evolve and grow. And so now, instead of like randomly picking up a PSA Yogi Berra card or a Johnny Mize and a BVG slab, and these are cards that I picked up over the years and bought on eBay or at card shows. Now I know what I want. Now I know that I want only these certain players. I only want these certain autographs. I don't have this huge pool of like everything I'm swimming in, drowning in. Now I'm in this little narrow stream, and I'm on my raft, and I'm picking up things out of the stream as I go. And that's just, I don't know, maybe I'm different than everybody, but this is how I've started to collect and how I've evolved and grown as a collector. And a lot of YouTubers out there have been instrumental in the way I collect. And I see a lot of them, and I admire the way that they collect certain things, and I want to collect that way too. So anyways, that was what I thought. So we'll go back to DB and see what he has to say about the evolution of his collection.
Some absolutely great thoughts and insights there, DA. And I know I can say, as somebody, you're one of my oldest friends here in this community, and it's been a pleasure and a privilege for me watching, some of the changes and the growth in your collection over these past couple of years. And there are, some great projects that I've been seeing you begin and really start to mature. So been a great thing to witness over these past few years. Okay, so talking about the evolution of my own collection, I really have to kind of break down the three major focuses in my collection and to discuss this and the way each part of it is kind of evolved. So I have my Hall of Fame baseball collection, my Roberto Clemente PSA Master Set collection, and my Nebraska related autographs collection. And I'll kind of break down each part of these and what's kind of changed and the changing focuses and shifts in priorities that I've come across on these. Now, with my Hall of Fame collection, this goes back to when I first got back into the hobby almost 20 years ago. And my initial thought was that, you know, I'm coming back into the hobby and I don't have a whole lot of money to spend. What I was going to do was I was going to build a collection that had, you know, a card of every player in the Hall of Fame, and it was going to be, you know, just what I could afford, and it would be like one card, $5 to $25, playing days, non-playing days, whatever. It was just something to represent that person in the Hall of Fame, and I would, you know, go along, and if for some reason I upgraded something, I would, like, you know, sell whatever the other thing was and roll that money into the collection. Well, that lasted like 0 minutes. I mean, almost immediately I did not stick to that plan, and I just kind of kept acquiring things because just, you know, the sensation of being able to buy stuff and wanting to acquire more, getting volume. I was definitely quantity over quality, and just getting more stuff. Just kept consuming me, and I, you know, have a bit of a hoarder mentality, and I never want to let anything go. And so, you know, I just kept acquiring and acquired, and you know, even as recently as, you know, a couple years ago, if you watch my videos, you would have seen, you know, lots of small purchases and things, and I'm doing sucked into the PSA set registries because they kind of fed into this thing of giving me an excuse to buy lots of things, because if I have all these registries going and all these projects that I'm working on, I can always be buying. So I was doing things like the 61 Fleer set, 60 Fleer set, 50 Callahan set, you know, that feature lots of Hall of Famers. But, you know, being able to buy, you know, cards for that set, and then I'm doing like the 80s Hall of Fame Topps run, you know, where all the Hall of Famers from the 80s, so you're getting all those base cards. So all of this, you know, contributed to lots of excuses to buy lots of different things. And at some point, you know, I built you know, a large Hall of Fame player collection, but as I was, you know, checking more and more Hall of Famers off the list, I found, you know, I'd come to a place where I wasn't going to be able to make progress at adding other, you know, other players, because part of this is having cards from the players' active career, their playing days, became much more important to me than just getting, you know, cards, you know, getting a decent card that came from, you know, post-career and was like a tribute card. Now, when you change focus like that, as far as wanting those types of cards, you're going to have to then spend a lot of money for some of these older players. And I realized, you know, if I wanted to do that, I could not keep, you know, making small purchases all the time like I was. I had to, you know, seek out, you know, the actual gaps that were in my collection and start saying, you know, these are the players that I'm looking for. If one of them's available, I'm going to purchase that card and be a large purchase, and then I'm going to have to pay that off before I, you know, move on to the next one. And I can't always be spending $40, $50 on just, this other thing that fills a hole in the registry all the time. I had to, you know, kind of cut those out. Now, you know, and So my collection is a Hall of Fame stuff has been much more focused on playing days cards, and also I've always had kind of a type collector mentality even before I really knew what type collecting was, but the type collection aspect of it is also something that's increased in importance to me and focus. So, and then another portion of the Hall of Fame collection, autographs. I've gotten more into them in the last couple of years. Before, that was something that I just kind of pushed to the side, and I didn't buy autographs really much at all, because basically, I was trying to get cards all the time, and as I've become more selective, having one or two autographs of as many Hall of Famers as I can has been something that it's increased in its priority for me as well. Now moving to the Roberto Clemente PSA registry, the master registry. I haven't done a whole lot with that in the last really 2 years. I've added a few things. Unfortunately, I've kind of hit a wall on that after I got pretty much finished with the Topps run. Really, as far as his basic Topps cards and his inexpensive team issues and regionals, I've pretty much got everything there is to get except for some team cards, which, I'm not hugely inspired to go chase down the team cards. But really, it's like beyond that, it's like I've got lots of the OPC and Venezuelan variations of Topps cards I already have, which, it's really expensive most of the time for those. And then there's the very expensive regional cards and team cards that I haven't gotten. So there's not really much there that I can get new for that collection without spending quite a bit of money. And things just, when you're focused on one player, things tend not to come up quite as often as if you've got, a list of 20 guys that, hey, I'm looking to acquire, like I am with my Hall of Fame collection. And so my Clemente master set, even though it's like I still love that and would like to, make more progress on it, just where I am from a financial standpoint, I can't devote top attention to it, and so it's like I've had to put it as a second tier priority to focus on the Hall of Fame collection, and so that's where that one sits. Now with my Nebraska related autographs, this is one that's actually kind of really grown in the last few years for me. When I started it, it was just kind of something, just like little side thing that I didn't put much effort or thought into. It was just something occasionally I'd get in the motivated day, and I would look for former Nebraska baseball players that had been in the majors because I wanted to keep it small. And Nebraska football was a lot of players, but baseball would be a smaller amount of guys, and I just kind of look, hey, see how many autographs I might be able to get of former Huskers. And, as collection creep is definitely always a thing with me. I, started acquiring some football and a couple basketball, but it was still always just kind of just a little side thing. And I didn't focus on it too much or invest much in it. But in the last couple of years, this is something that's become more important to me. And I kind of trace this back to when my dad passed away a few years ago. My dad was a University of Nebraska graduate. He graduated in 72. So he was there during the Nebraska National Championship runs in the early 70s. And my dad was a big sports fan, and all his life, as long as I could remember, my dad followed Nebraska sports, and in all sports. It didn't, my dad, he absolutely passionate about the baseball team and basketball, no matter how bad they were, and the track teams. He knew the track and field team, what was going on with them. Just like he would follow the swimming team, the volleyball team, the women's basketball. It didn't matter if they wore the N on that jersey. It's like he cared about how they did. And so this was always something, that he cared a lot about and followed. He would listen to, games on the radio all the time, things that weren't telecast on TV. So, and, my dad was a coin collector. And so when I was collecting sports cards as a kid, and then when I got back into the hobby, he definitely, kind of understood the desire that I had in that, because being a collector himself, but, he didn't quite relate to it with sports cards, because those weren't what he found interesting, which is surprising as much as he loved sports. But anyway, so... for the most part, I didn't, share my collection a lot with my dad. I knew he kind of like, it's like he was happy for me that I enjoyed it and that, but I didn't, share purchases and show him things a lot. But, after he passed, I always felt, man, he would have liked this little side project with the Nebraska autographs that I had. Mostly baseball and some football that people had sent me, and a few other odds and end items. And it was just like this moment where I was like, I really wish I just had shared this part of the collection with him more, because I think he would have enjoyed this a lot and would like to see its progress, and especially enjoyed, the hunt for the obscure players that this kind of becomes. It's like you got guys that were, they were a major contributor to a team, and you have pleasant memories of them, but they didn't go on to professional greatness. So there isn't a lot of, examples of those autographs out there. And sometimes it's like, try to find, autographs of any players from women's volleyball, even if they won national championships. Those are tough things to find. And for me, it was like, this is, something that he would have really enjoyed. And I don't think I was really conscious of it at the time, but this was something that has grown so much more important in my collection, I think, because of the way I kind of feel a connection to my dad when I add to it, and when I look at this collection, even though, it's not something that I shared with him. Anyway, I really thank everybody for listening to me talk here about my evolution, and I hope to hear some stories from some of you. So I'm going to kick it off back to DA, and he's going to close us out. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Dustin. Now, I really can relate to you when it comes to your Nebraska autograph PC. I know, like, I collect all these Twins autographs, and I want everybody, even if they only played one game in the majors, that's something I really dig picking up those types of cards. Like, maybe the player doesn't even have a card. You have to get them on, like, a index card or a team issue card or something. And those are the kinds of things I dig, because I know, I get excited about them because you don't see them very often. And the average person doesn't even know who that is. So maybe it doesn't have a lot of value dollar-wise, but it has value in it being something cool and unique, and a unique part of your collection, and something that you kind of connect to it in one way or another. So I think that's pretty cool. Now, we Dustin and I want to invite you guys to make a short video about how your collection has evolved. And if you want to, you can send us your video and we'll do a compilation video and put that out for the next Double D Card Talk episode, showing all you guys, hopefully if you can make a video of 5 minutes or less and send it to us. If you want to know how to do that, I'll leave my email and a link in the description below. And shoot me an email if you want to be involved in the next Double D Card Talk. We'd love to hear from all of you guys. I know like some guys that don't really make content anymore. We'd love to hear from somebody like Jerome Yankees Cards. I'd love to hear from Pat Snodzilla. He doesn't do a whole lot of collecting content. He's mostly doing breaks now. Would love to hear about how his collection has evolved. Any of you guys out there, we'd love to hear from you. So comment down below. Let us know if you're interested. Email me, whatever, what have you, and we'll try to put together a compilation of a lot of different YouTubers and talk about how their collections have changed over the years. And anyways, thanks for watching. Really appreciate you. Remember, you have to be subscribed to Dustin and Blake and Dustin Bellinger if you never want to miss an episode of Double D Card Talk. And I'll also put a playlist of all the previous Double D Card Talk videos in the description so you can binge watch all of them. Anyways, thanks again, and we'll see you next time.